Welcome to episode 41 of PuckPod by B Sports. I'm Brian, and I'm here with David and Christian. We start things always the same way. Christian, how was your week?
That was a pretty good week. Same conversation as last time. Weather still crap. It's a highlight between the time that we last spoke and now. We went to watch a Jays game, right? So
Yep.
we ended up getting to see the one win in the Jays Orioles series in Toronto. All three of us. So we were a little bit of good luck that way. And then really, I've just been watching a lot of Jays after that because we called up this random guy, Davis Schneider, this 24-year-old guy, 28th round pick, who's just decided he's his nickname is Babe Schneider. And he's just got this incredible stash, the glasses, like he looks like
What
a
a
character.
stash, dude.
And he's just been mashing. It's been really fun to watch. So lots of Jays this week, boys. How about you?
Dave, I'll let you go first. I know you had the better weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did the Jays game. We got to I that was my first Jays game this season. I would say out of the three of us, like me and Christian are the Jays fans.
I'm not a
I
Jays
never
fan.
I hadn't gone to a game at all this year. So seeing all the new renos and stuff was pretty cool. And I can't wait to see next season what they do with the lower bowl. So that was pretty cool. I think I'm actually going again on Saturday. Jose Bautista retirement night, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna hopefully get to see him. Yeah, this weekend I went up to the cottage. And I missed the debut of David Schneider. So, first rookie in MLB history with 9 hits.
Two home runs.
It was 9 hits, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs or something within his first 3 games or something.
Yeah, it was like the last person to put up 9 hits in the first 3 games was in 1938.
Yeah.
It's one of those old timey days
before the war, insane,
literally before
insane stuff. So I missed that, which is unfortunate, but I got to have a nice relaxing weekend. I will say on the weather though, Christian, where I was in cottage country, I got completely burnt. If you can't tell by my face, I'm not going to take off my top on this pod. That's going to be for a later pod, maybe a late night pod.
If the Leafs get to the third round.
Yeah,
dude, my chest.
We'll call that one PuckPod after dark.
PuckPod after dark, dude. My chest, my back, burnt. But we had some really nice weather, except for yesterday when we were driving home, and I had to drive home in a little bit of rain, but it was all good. So, Bri, on that note, how was your week? Or if you just want to get into it,
I've been busy.
You were doing some family visitation, that type of stuff recently, right? So
I had a lot of family stuff. I officially released my first game, my first app on my second app, my first app on Google Play Store. We're working on Apple right now. It's difficult. I don't want to get into that because makes my blood boil just thinking about the project that Apple put me through. I probably lost years off my life with that one. But I did that. I actually worked yesterday. It was obviously extra payday, so I just took that. But let's talk about a team that did get paid. The Pittsburgh Penguins. They get a Norris winner for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
Okay, this trade is a lot. I don't think we should just go through everything because I don't think we should go through all the pieces at once because there's 15 pieces got moved. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do it team by team, and we'll start with obviously the team that got the best player in the trade, the Pittsburgh Penguins. How do you guys feel?
Do you want me to run down what they got? I'll go through each.
Yeah, we can do that.
Sure, Dave. Run down what Pittsburgh got.
Yeah. So it was a 3-way deal, obviously, between San Jose and Montreal. But on Pittsburgh's end, they got, obviously, the reigning Norris winner, Erik Karlsson. They also got Rem Pitlick, Dylan Hammerluck, and a 2026
Oh my
from
God.
San Jose. So that's a couple years down the line already.
That's 14.
Yeah. But that's such a...
No. He's 60.
Okay,
you tripped me out there for a second, bro.
You know what I mean?
My God.
Still a kid. Yeah. I mean, my first reaction when this came through, I think Dave is the one who really broke it to me. I just said like, wow, 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 wow. Like I was just like, it's finally going down. Let's go. Blockbuster deal. And honestly, the deal as a whole, like we said, with the three teams and how many pieces are involved, it's bigger than I would have even imagined. We always knew it was going to be complicated for a Karlsson deal just because of how much money he makes. But yeah, this passed my expectations. But like we're saying, the blockbuster part of this deal is Erik Karlsson going to the Penguins. And Dubas kind of creates his new core four, right? So we add to Malkin, Crosby, and Letang, the core that's won 3 cups, and you add Erik Karlsson. So it's definitely a lot older than the core four that Dubas originally assembled, but there's some firepower there. This definitely makes Pittsburgh better, but at the same time, they definitely they gave up guys that maybe not everyone was too hot on. We'll get into them later. But they consolidated those assets. You get Karlsson, they get under the cap somehow. So this is actually like a cap maneuvering move. They were actually, I think, like 5 million over the cap before this deal. Yeah, my original thought is just holy crap. That was my initial reaction. How about you guys?
Yeah. So they're obviously in my division. They're obviously a bitter rival of mine, and I am kind of scared of what EK is gonna do in the East. Like the East was already competitive, and specific the Metro is already tough. Adding the legitimate Norris winner for what, a first round pick? Like realistically, just a first round pick is not gonna be good for the rest of the teams in the division. And he's on 50 and he's on 1.5 retain 13% or whatever it is, which is pretty crazy. Honestly, I'm happy for Pittsburgh. I'm happy for Dubas in the sense that, like, they get a couple more years for Sidney Crosby. I have a lot of respect for Sidney Crosby and Malkin, right? You want to see them do well, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be really difficult. Does this make them better than a team like New Jersey? No. But does it maybe put them into the playoff picture? Yes.
I think it firmly puts them like ahead of you guys, Brian. Unfortunately,
I think so
right?
too.
Like
Yeah.
you could have maybe thrown you guys into that same. I would have thrown the Islanders, the Blue Jackets, the Penguins, the Caps. I would have thrown all you guys in the same bin.
Nope, not anymore.
Definitely puts the Pens a little bit ahead of all those other guys.
So I guess that what that means now is Pittsburgh is probably wildcard 1 based on just power rankings, and then we're fighting it out with Buffalo and New York Islanders. That's probably what it's going to be.
I think this trade in particular is going to have lasting effects on your division. At the very least, it's going to have lasting effects on the rest of the NHL. Like it's a seismic shift regardless. But last night I saw a quote from Brian McClellan, the GM of your very own Washington Capitals, and he said that you guys wanted to add another top 6 forward before the start of the season. So does that mean maybe going to a place like, we were looking at Calgary, we were looking at, there's a couple other teams who had guys on the market who never really got a deal done before free agency, before the draft. So
Winnipeg is another one, right?
Yeah.
We're still on like Scheifele if that happens.
Does this put the onus now on the rest of the teams in the Metro division to start bulking up even more? Because the Metro division, Carolina, Jersey, all had really good free agent periods, right? Does this put the onus on the rest of them now to go out and shop a little bit more?
I think it does. I think that everybody in the East is like an arms race already, and it's not even like anywhere near the playoffs yet. Literally before the season even started, this is the first domino to fall in the Eastern Conference arms race. And I guess we do need to do something to make us a little more competitive. Like Christian said, we are probably behind Pittsburgh right now, just based on firepower. Just firepower alone. They added 100 points. Legitimate Norris winner just being added for what, like a third of what Tanner Jeannot got? Come on.
I guess part of the question too going forward is, do we think that Karlsson can repeat the same type of offensive performance that he had last year? It's tough. It's not like a chicken and egg argument, but it's a question of whether did he put up 100 points because there's no one else to drive the offense in San Jose, or just putting him on an even better team maybe even improve his point totals. I honestly, I don't know if he does 100 again. but I feel pretty confident saying point per game
PPG.
is still.
He does something in between there, 100%.
So, like, the reason I specifically think that he might get 90 or 100 plus this season, just because of the fact you're playing with Crosby and Malkin, it's kind of difficult not to play well with those guys. I mean, Sherry got 40 points with playing on Crosby's wing.
Yeah.
Just imagine what EK could get.
Yeah.
So here's another thing too. So Karlsson has always been the power play quarterback of whatever team he's on.
Yep.
So now he's joining a team with another power play quarterback in Chris Letang. Were they not the originators of like the 4 forwards on the power play?
That was us. Because Ovechkin always played point. Yeah.
Okay. So do they switch to a 2-man D power play? Do they run 1D and who gets kicked off? Like that's those. I mean, listen, great options to have. Like if your power play 1 and power play 2 unit consists of quarterbacks of Erik Karlsson and Chris Letang, regardless of age, like I think Chris Letang is still a fantastic defenseman. I can't ask for worse than that.
I think I can answer this. So they'll probably do 2 defenders for the first little bit just because Gensel's out. I think for like the first little bit of the season. And then after that, Gensel would fit it back in, and then EK would play on PP1, and then Letang would probably play on PP2.
I honestly think they might even go 2 defensemen all the way. I never gave it consideration until you brought it up, Dave. But even when Gensel comes back, what's stopping you from going Gensel, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Karlsson?
That's true,
right? Yeah. I think honestly, that's probably the way to go. On the other hand, we talk as always. We got to bring it back to Toronto here, but I'm going to do it very briefly. Toronto, we have Morgan Rielly, and for a long time he was the PP1 guy. In recent seasons, we've not totally shifted away from it, but we've been much more open to trying other options. Sandin has gotten a chance. Muzzin at times when he was healthy. Even like sometimes Brody, Liljegren, like all these guys, Gio, all these guys have been given a shot. Gustafsson in the playoffs or just right before the end of the season. And it's not necessarily because Morgan Rielly is terrible as a PP1. He's pretty good. But that's ice time and a bit of a workload that you can maybe shift off of him to improve his overall game, right? So maybe that's what we see going on with Chris Letang. Chris Letang played 24 minutes and 51 seconds a night last year. That's a lot. If you can shave off even just a minute from power play time, he can still get on maybe PP2 if you do go the 1 defenseman route, right? Comes on PP2 for 30 seconds. Maybe in the long run that helps him, makes him a better player overall. Conserves a little bit of energy by the time playoffs come around.
Yep. Okay. So, okay, we'll go into this part just because we're talking about Pittsburgh anyway. I'm gonna give a couple players that Pittsburgh added this offseason. They all have one thing in common besides the fact that well, obviously they play for Pittsburgh next season. So we have EK, the GOAT Lars Eller, Noel Chari. Is that I'm not sure if that's Craig Smith. Is it Craig Smith?
Or didn't they add Riley Smith?
Riley Smith. That's who it was. And Matt Nieto. What are they? Okay. What's the one thing in common?
Are they all Sault Ste. Marie former alumni?
No.
Imagine. Oh my. Well, I know the answer. So
yes,
Dave, if you want to give it a shout here.
Okay, one more guess.
I'll give you a hint. Time.
Time.
Wait, what do you mean time?
Yeah.
I want to say, I don't know, maybe they were all drafted in the same class.
No, they're all 30 plus. They're all 30
Oh,
plus.
yes. Okay. So that's where we're going to get into. Yeah. I mean, you just made Dubas just made the oldest team in hockey a little bit older. But that, like, I don't know if the age comes into play with a trade like this. Like, I think...
Right.
I think for Karlsson, it's not age, but it's injury history. I think that's the main concern I would have if I was Kyle Dubas. You know, what was it? His right hip that was restructured basically, or his left hip?
I think it was ankle. Remember he had the playoffs with no ankle, and then he couldn't turn. He couldn't pivot.
He was able to pivot. Yeah. So it was the ankle.
Honestly, I would rather maybe ankle than hip. Honestly,
yes.
So, yeah.
So his ankle completely. It probably took him 2 years to fully recover that. Right. Like he had that one think we discussed this before, but they had that one great playoff push in San Jose, making it all the way to the conference finals, which they lost. And then the next couple of seasons, it was like a downward spiral for not just Karlsson, but everybody on that Sharks team. And it's
been that way
great
since.
to see. Yeah, it's great to see Karlsson has kind of rebounded since then, putting up 100 points. But there is always that like specter of doom kind of looming over Karlsson now because of his recent past, right? So I hope for his sake he's able to maintain that his pace. But yeah, like we mentioned before, but the core four, I think Karlsson is the youngest of the four players that we mentioned, and he's 33, right? Or is he 34?
Well, Sid just
He
turned like what,
is
37 yesterday, so
yeah.
37.
He's
Malkin's
33.
Malkin's older than Sid, so
38.
Crosby 36, Malkin 37, Letang 36, Karlsson 33. So he's old, but he's young by Pittsburgh Penguins standards. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it's like what Dubas doing is just giving Crosby one last run, one last chance, or at least the opportunity to get that one last chance, right? Which is
I think it's even more than that though, just because we've seen the previous general managers or just the previous front office with Hextall and Burke, like they were definitely trying to do that too, just not successfully at all, right?
no.
It was just a lot of mistakes, and very quickly Dubas has erased some of those mistakes. Two guys that Burke and Hextall brought in were Granlund and Petrie, and those guys are no longer playing for the Penguins, right? Quickly erased those mistakes.
Okay. You guys want to move into the next team?
I think we've covered it for Pittsburgh. I would just say like their decor now, like it's actually, and you wouldn't think of Pittsburgh as having the greatest defense, but real quickly, Graves, Karlsson, Marcus Pettersson, Letang as your top four, you can get by with that.
Very good.
Pierre-Olivier Joseph on the bottom pair, and really the only weak spot, I guess, is like Ruido is your six now. Pittsburgh could be one of the teams that maybe try and get one of the squeezed out free agents on like a real cheap deal. I could see that. Like I've talked about Cal Foote and Caleb Jones before. They could totally be a player for one of those guys on like league mid. Really quickly turn around the D there in Pittsburgh.
Okay. Let's jump into the winners of this trade. The team that gave up the least and got the most, surprisingly. Well, in terms of quantity, we have the Montreal Canadiens. They pick up Jeff Petrie, 25% retained. Casey DeSmith, Nathan Laguerre, and a second round pick for, I guess, Mike Hoffman and Rem Pitlick.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Rem Pitlick for a second, because he was in the Pittsburgh deal, that he's making 1.1 mil. Like this is a guy where if he plays on your fourth line, cool. If not, he'll be waived by training camp. Like that's a throw in. Maybe for whatever reason, Montreal. Yeah. I know Montreal's still got a decent amount of cap space, but it's just he's just a guy. Rem Pitlick's just a guy. So Montreal did not lose anything. If anything, they might have traded him to get a younger body into their lineup this season, right? Petrie, the retention there should be noted. That's Pittsburgh who's retaining. This is like
what? Really?
Yeah, that's Pittsburgh who's retaining some of that contract there, right? The 25% retention. Unless it's not San Jose. So no, it's Pittsburgh, and that's 1.5625 million retained. So he comes in at just under 4.7. I think he's still under contract this year and next year. And the reporting from Friedman is that he'll probably get moved again because he just got traded from from Montreal a year ago, right? So yeah. So I mean, even if let's say they give him away for free, you're still getting all these other assets involved in the deal. The Smith, like that was Pittsburgh's backup. Like I thought this was who they were going to run with, Jarry and the Smith, and a second round pick.
If I'm not mistaken, on Petrie as well, what could make him more appetizing is that of his money, he has it's like 50% of his contract is a signing bonus. So what is his cap hit at, Christian? 6?
Just under 4.7.
4.7. Oh, but that's 4.7 with the retention?
Yes.
So it'd be about $6 million a year that he gets paid.
I think it was like 6.25. Yeah.
Okay. So I believe half of that has already been, like Pittsburgh has already paid that out at about $3 million. So in actual money, teams would only have to spend about I think it's like 2.5 to 2.75 million to take him on for the rest of the year. So if you're a team looking to, I know 2.75 for some teams might be a bit of an expenditure, but he's still a capable defenseman, a nice, like a wily vet. You could add him in. So I think that maybe just makes him a little bit more valuable and something to note.
So given the situation with Montreal just getting free stuff, how do you guys just not think that they're just the clear winners of this in terms of
Montreal? Yeah.
just
honestly, 100%.
they get,
No,
I mean,
like I'm just pissed, man. I
we're
saw
not
this. I'm like,
saying,
stop making good moves. Stop
yeah,
it, man. It's been
yeah.
all off season. It's been 2 off seasons. It's been ever since Kent Hughes is coming. That it's just been good move after good move, and I do not like it.
and
So
I
Not at
bet you,
all.
the only way Pittsburgh like wins this trade is if Karlsson wins another Norris and then they win the cup this season, next
right.
season, or the year after, right? Like right now, it's, I don't know. Like, would you, if you're Pittsburgh?
They
Sorry,
didn't pay a lot, to be fair.
yeah,
I think the definitive losers are the Sharks, but
oh yeah, I think we'll probably get into them, but yeah, for Pittsburgh right now, it's you've got EK. This is the end of the line for the Crosby, Malkin, Letang dynasty era in Pittsburgh. It's been about 20 years now, right? We're coming up on 20 years, which is insane to think about.
yep.
Now
Okay.
it's, yeah, but for Montreal's sake, holy moly.
And in regards to Montreal specifically, I could totally see them just trading Petrie at the deadline.
Yeah.
Just like ship
It's
off top
supposed.
center.
I
The
think
report is
it's
before then.
happening.
The report is before the season. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's happening within the next like couple weeks, Bri. That's from what I've
So,
seen.
and they'll
Because
probably
remember, they can also afford to retain on him. They're not a cap
right.
team, right? Unless
Mhm.
they try and compete as soon as next season, then they're not spending to the cap.
And given what they given what they paid for this to occur, like they might get more for Petrie than San Jose got for EK in regards to just like draft capital.
In terms of, yeah,
I'll say he goes for real cheap, but the fact like getting
Okay,
off of the cap hit or whatever, like I don't
it's a
think you're
W.
gonna get much for him. It's still a W. Through and through, it's a W. Just under the Smith part again. They've got 4 goalies now. They've got Jake Allen, Sam Montembeault, Caden Primo, and the Smith. Someone's got to go as well. They might flip the Smith too, honestly. I guess if you're Montreal, you probably, I would assume you want Primo in at this point. At least you're going to give him a shot at training camp. And you probably go one vet, one young guy, right? So Montembeault, do we even call him a young guy? Not, I don't really think so.
No.
I think Allen or DeSmith is going to be one of the guys that goes, and then they can try and sneak the other vet through waivers if they really had to. So yeah, that's pretty big too. I mean, those are good goalies. Like Allen and DeSmith can absolutely be a good backup for a contending team.
yeah.
So they're only going to add assets from this deal.
So they're not done yet. So
It
you're
only
trying to
gets
say.
better. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's go to the biggest losers of this trade. The Sharks acquire Mike Hoffman from Montreal. From Pittsburgh, they get Michael Granlund, Jan Ruda, a first-round pick, which is top 10 protected.
Okay.
Okay,
Lots
so
of money going back.
let me just put it into perspective. Okay, so when they traded for EK, they gave up 2 first-round picks. One of them ended up being Josh Norris. The other one ended up being Tim Stützle. Now they have a 2024 first-round pick, which isn't even going to be top 10 protected. Sorry, which is top 10 protected. So it's not going to be in the top 10 in an already weak draft. Jan Ruda, Michael Granlund, and Mike Hoffman. I don't know. I like Stützle and Norris a lot more.
Yeah,
definitely. I listen. I like I talked about with Montreal how they're going to add assets from this deal. No matter what you think of Hoffman, Granlund, and Ruda, all those guys can be flipped.
Yes.
They can absolutely be flipped for something. Hoffman is a pending UFA at the end of the summer. Granlund's got 2 years on his deal, so he might be a bit tougher. Ruda has about 2 years, but he's only making 2.75. Those are all guys that I do think a team come the deadline would be interested in, and they can flip them for your various 3rd and 4th round picks. Is that a lot to get back for Erik Karlsson?
no.
No. But we do understand that this might have been their only opportunity to trade Karlsson, or at least their best opportunity because of the performance he's coming off of. And in reality, like Dave brought up earlier with the injury history with Karlsson, it's no sure thing that Karlsson is what he was last year. And if he regresses back to maybe not being a 100-point guy, even if he's just a 40-point guy, a 50-point guy, this deal looks a lot different, right?
Yeah.
So just to play a bit of devil's advocate for the Sharks here, is it great? No. Is it terrible? No, because I think terrible would have been keeping Karlsson and him regressing, right? And what good does that do the Sharks? No good at all.
The biggest selling point, if you're a Sharks fan, is you were able to unload close to, like, you were able to unload his $11 million salary. You have to retain, was it 1.5, 1.3
1.5
under 1.5?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Honestly, it's
roughly
a fraction.
10 mil.
It's a fraction of what you would have had to pay over the next. I believe he's under contract for 3 years.
I think it's 4 years.
Is it 4 more years? Is it?
Yeah, this is
4, like including this year?
This is going into 4.
Okay. So
yeah, it's specifically where it matters is those final 2 years, right? Because all the guys they acquired are on 1 or 2 year term.
Yeah.
So while maybe you don't get out of it this year and
Right
next
now,
year,
yes.
unless you flip these guys, you're almost clean sheets for the final 2 years of Karlsson's deal minus the retention.
So here's the thing. I could see Mike Hoffman as being prime trade candidate by the time February and March comes around next year. Yeah, again.
Yeah.
That guy's a perennial 20-goal scorer. At his best. Or best recently. I think in the past, everybody could have been like, wow, he could be a 40-goal scorer, but that's not Mike Hoffman anymore. I think 20 goals is very good season for him. And especially he should probably be playing on the top power play, top line for the San Jose Sharks. I think that
might be their best forward.
Yeah, he might be. Right now, yes.
Who's better, like Bear
I mean, no, they got Hurdle, guys. Put some respect on my boy. But the point still stands. The point still stands. So I'll be honest though. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. With San Jose though, however, you have a couple guys that are still on San Jose. Marc-Edouard Vlasic. Who's the other guy that was making a lot of money? The past couple of years have been righting the ship, getting rid of a lot of the long-term money. Is Logan Couture still there?
Couture is still there, making $8 million until 2027. Yeah. The other guy that was making big money, they traded last summer. The other Norris winner, Brent Burns, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
At least they can say they got more for EK than they did for Brent Burns. At least they can say that.
That's not really a compliment, though, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's kind of backhanded, right? So, the decor right now is honestly like god awful. It's Mario Ferraro, Matt Benning. I'm actually going to shout out. Matt Benning.
Is there one?
Yeah, well, yes, because I'll tell you the rest of the names. It's not good, but I'm saying this now. Matt Benning is the guy who I would love for the Leafs to get. However, I don't think he's going anywhere. He's only making $1.25 million. He signed a 4-year contract. He had a low-key really good season. So, but still, like if Matt Benning's on your first pairing, not good. Marc-Edouard Vlasic, who it's been well established, he's not good anymore. Jan Ruda now is in their top 4. Okay. Radim Simek and Kyle Burrows. Like this is a ragtag bunch of vets on this blue line. It's nothing special at all. But I actually want to give a shout out to their forward group right now. Low key, every single player in this forward group is an NHL forward. And I actually probably couldn't say that about them last year. Like, guys, Barabanov, Couture, Hoffman, Hurdle, Duclair they got. We talked about Zadina, Granlund, LeBanc, Lindblom, Nico Sturm, Zetterlund from the Meyer deal. Like, these are all at least NHL guys. They're not going to be throwing random dudes in like Chicago was last year or the Coyotes have done in the past. This is actually a NHL lineup on forward. And I actually think they're going to score a little bit more than we maybe would have ever thought. And I was the guy who last episode said this team's going to finish dead last. It sucks. The forward group actually did get better.
all I
What?
hear from what you're saying is just trade bait, trade bait, trade bait,
Yeah.
trade
Oh,
bait, trade bait.
100%. 100%.
If you are a bottom feeding squad, what is I think the best way to finish last and also acquire more assets is to be the type of team that San Jose is looking to be. Like you just mentioned, Christian. What better situation would you be in if you were a 30-second team, like 32nd overall team that can score? So boosting your forward talents numbers. Okay, granted, your defensemen maybe don't look as appealing, and your goaltending
Goalies are not it either. Yeah.
Right?
That's beautiful.
But you're able to score. Maybe you flip guys from your forward core for a little bit more than maybe they should actually go for, and then also end up with like the first overall pick next year. If you're a team like San Jose and that situation comes about, I think that's a win-win for them, right?
And guys, I didn't even mention William Eklund in there too. That's like
Right.
one of the crown jewels of the rebuild so far, right? Other than Will Smith, they just got. But Eklund is the guy who's supposed to step in. We talked about, I remember early in the summer, it was Zadina and a good fit on San Jose because he's going to get power play one time, whatever. Honestly, throw that out the window. I actually don't know what he's going to do now. Like, he's just another guy on this team. They have a bunch of guys who could get power play time. He's going to have to work for it. Yes, there's a lot of internal competition. And I will say, too,
maybe that's a good
I like
thing.
the offense. Like, I like the offense the group has. These guys suck defensively. Like, the forward group sucks defensively, too. So, like, it really is just going to be like fire wagon hockey in San Jose, which I don't know if we really expected that.
Definitely not, but you know what? At least they have something to watch, and maybe they'll get something back for whatever they got this trade. Maybe. Okay. Hopefully. Let's give grades. Pittsburgh, what do you guys give them?
Yeah, B.
I'll go B plus.
Okay. I'll go B. Montreal, I give them an A.
Yeah. Solid A. I can't go.
And that's
more
not even
than,
knowing. Huh?
Yeah, I can't go really more than an A. Like, you know what I mean? Like
A would be like you get no money back. They still have work to do. They can turn it into an A plus, but until they trade these other guys, A.
It's an A. Yeah.
Okay. The Sharks.
I'll go
currently
B minus.
Yeah.
I give them a C plus.
I'll give them a B minus too.
I'll go B minus. Yeah. Because this is another team. They can turn it into a B for me. Yeah. But you got to actually flip the guys, right?
Yeah.
So.
There is the promise there for sure.
That's fair. Okay. You know what? We're just gonna go a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back from our break. Let's get into the first thing, the most important thing, our new cover art for our podcast.
Shout out to the wonderful artist who did this. We actually got Leonardo da Vinci back from the dead to make this incredible.
Picasso.
We got Picasso. No, Brian, good job, man. I like it. I dig it, man.
Thank you.
Let us know if you're watching, if you dig it as well.
So I gave in with the colors of like the PD Sports, like it's obviously blue and white, right? But that's why I had to make it the Capital One Arena. It's also the first stock image I found out. Like it was really good, right? And then I don't know if you guys saw, but in the bottom corner there's Ovechkin. There's also I think there's also Wilson in there. I think he's actually on the ice. He's on the right side, which kind of makes sense, and it's kind of funny because he just inked a $6.5 million contract AAV for the next 7 years. I'll go last. What do you guys think?
I mean, this is going to be polarizing for anyone, right? I think the first deal that came to mind as a comp, it's probably the Josh Anderson deal with Montreal, and I think that one I'm actually going to pull it up. I want to say it was 5x7 is what I want to say it was. Let's confirm it here. It is 5.5x7 is what it was. This is 6.5x7. So, Brian, when you put it like that, honestly, I actually like to do more when I put it into this frame because 5.5 when this deal was signed, this is during the COVID bubble, stagnant cap. I want to say the cap was like 80.5 or 81.5. For Josh Anderson, who I think we'd all agree, good, not as good as Tom Wilson. He's Tom Wilson light. So you're only paying an extra $1 million per year with the cap going up, with the cap going further up in the future for a better player. You know what? I was already telling myself it's not a terrible deal when we first talked about it when it broke. And listen, is it great? No. Can you live with it for a guy who's been with your team his entire career, is a locker room guy, brings the wonderful intangibles, and he's still a unicorn. He is a unicorn, and he's a guy that everyone would want on their team, and maybe you pay a bit of a premium for that.
Dave?
At his best, Tom Wilson is the premier power forward in the NHL. I think, and it's in a role that has been getting severely diminished over the past 10 years. You don't see guys like Tom Wilson anymore. Long gone are the years of Eric Lindros and guys of that caliber, but Tom Wilson is there to fill that hole. And when he is healthy, he is the best at it. But there's the caveat, right? Is the injuries. How many games did he miss this year, Bri?
Close to 50.
Close to 50. So over half the season. That's unfortunate, right? We can make this point for every single player playing NHL hockey, right? Is the injury thing. But with the style of play that Tom Wilson plays, though, the injury bug seems to hit guys like that a bit more, a bit tougher. The one comp, unfortunately, Bri, I don't know if you want to take this as a good or a bad thing, though, was and that I've seen was the Milan Lucic free agency signing.
I knew that's where you're going. I had a feeling.
So here is the thing I'll say to that, right? We, in hindsight, we know what Milan Lucic turned into with Edmonton, because that's where he signed that long-term deal. So the warning signs were already there for Lucic, but he was still a premier power forward when that deal was signed. Tom Wilson, the warning signs are there, and he still is a premier power forward. The thing is, will he regress to the point of like Milan Lucic? Like, will he regress like within a year? I don't foresee that happening. I think the regression will take a couple of years. By years 4, 5, 6, and 7 of this deal, that's when we're really going to get to see the stock fall of Tom Wilson. But I think at that time, that's when you transition Tom Wilson over from being, the elite power forward guy to
the locker room guy.
Yeah, power forward player who's kind of just languishing in the bottom of the lineup while your young guys get some more minutes. That should probably be the end of the Backstrom, Kopitar, Karlsson era in Washington. I know to your dismay, probably, Brian, but yeah, he will be the next player to usher in, the
Brian
culture,
Leonard and stuff like that. Yeah,
the culture for the Capitals organization. So I think in that sense, not every move that has to be made has to work perfectly for a hockey sense. I think that's the one thing that sometimes we kind of gloss over. I think this is right now a hockey move, but in 5 years' time, it's going to be
locker room move.
Exactly.
So what I think this deal does is it guarantees Wilson as the next captain of the Washington Capitals once Alex Ovechkin hangs it up. Do I like this? In the sense that, we get to keep a legacy player, someone that has been with the franchise his whole career since 2012. Yeah, I do. Do I think the term is a little bit long? Yes. Do I think we overpaid a little bit for a player that could get hurt? Yes. And like Christian said, the Josh Anderson comparable. Does the $1 million make a difference considering the fact that Wilson has more injuries? I think it does. He's a physical game.
Anderson's a pretty injured guy too, though. I've got another one though. Look at this. I'm coming to the Capitals defense again here. Okay, we talk about the Lucic deal. That was signed in 2016. That wonderful summer where all the GMs just made these beautiful signings: Troy Brouwer, Milan Lucic, Andrew Ladd. Oh, you can go on and on.
Man.
Frank Nielsen.
All the GMs that year must have been listening to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, because they were giving all that money away, man. Oh,
Yes. So where I'm going with this, Lucci signs that deal 6x7. 6 million at that time was 8.2% of the total cap.
Now it's 6.7,
Um,
right?
6.2.
Okay, my math's a little bit
So
off, but
still though, you're getting
more
Wilson,
bang
yes,
for your
at a
buck.
bigger number. Yeah, but that percentage is down. And the difference is that we expect it to keep going down.
keep going down.
Whereas back in 2016, 17, this is pre-COVID. It's going up basically the same rate it was right now. Like it was like 1 or 2 mil a season, right? This is before we had those projections right before COVID where the cap was supposed to explode. So we have reason to believe that that cap percentage is only going to go down. Look at me
Yes.
being a Caps optimist.
So the one thing I just wanted to point out with McClellan that I really, really like is he's getting his business done early. He's not waiting around, not letting players sit around. Faravari signed it early with arbitration rights before we did it before arbitration, and now Wilson gets done a season before his contract expires. I like that. I like the mentality of get your stuff done, get your homework done, and get paid for it later, right?
He's no
Obviously,
BS. Like I feel like, and it's very under the radar too. Like
yes.
you just expect the business to get done. There's not even question marks about it.
And one more thing I just want to point out, if Wilson's going to be the transition piece for the next generation of Capitals hockey, what a perfect guy to transition Ryan Leonard into the NHL. They both shoot the same way. Obviously, Leonard can play left wing as well, but like they're both skillful. I mean, no one's gonna argue that Wilson's not a skillful hockey player. The guy can put up 30 goals next season, no one would bat an eye, right? And I think that's what we need. Someone that to play the unique game to teach another guy that plays a unique game going forward. So in that sense, I can live with it. I'm happy. Do I think McClellan gave just a little bit too much? Yeah, but whatever, right? Cap's going up.
So like we mentioned before, this is probably if Pittsburgh's going to be having their curtain call soon with the Crosby and Ovechkin era,
Yep.
the Crosby and Malkin era, then Brian McClellan is also seeing the writing on the wall with Ovechkin and those types of guys. So, we mentioned it before. Should the Caps load up a little bit more after re-upping Tom Wilson? You're getting John Karlsson back, I believe.
So
The only one that's really out there right now is Backstrom, right?
right. But Dave, where I'm going with this is you can't go up to Sidney Crosby. You can't go up to Alex Ovechkin and say, we're gonna tear this thing down. You
No,
can't.
yeah,
As long as
100%, right?
as long as their name is on the locker stall, as long as their name is on the back of your shirts, as long
Yeah.
as little kids are screaming for like to see Crosby Ovechkin play, you can't not go for it. And I think
Yeah.
they deserve it. They've gotten to the point in their careers where both of them, you got to just give them the best shot possible. And it's going to be that way for the next little bit. And you know what? I can live with that, given how much both of them have given to this league over the past, like, I don't know,
Almost 20 years.
15 years. Yeah. Okay. That's a lot of cap stock. That's a lot of Tom Wilson. Let's talk about the second biggest thing that happened on the Karlsson day. Matt Dumba signs a 1-year contract for $4 million with Arizona, or
Wow.
3.9.
What a newsy event. It's like Karlsson and then Matt Dumba just
Oh,
read
yeah.
that
They happened back to back, like right after each other.
It honestly did, yeah. Good for Matt Dumba for getting some money. I mean that type of money.
Dave, Matt Dumbo or John Klingberg?
Dumba all day.
Yeah. I
Right?
think so, but I don't know if like 4 mil still for Matt Dumba is. I mean, for both of them, they were both looking for
Is the right answer
multi-year.
neither?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they were both looking for multi-year deals. Like we saw what John Klingberg went through last year with Anaheim, and now he's with the Leafs on a 1-year deal. Does this Dumba signing transition into him getting a multi-year deal next year? Maybe. Hopefully. That is the hope here, right?
I think this is a better bet for Dumba than it is for Klingberg on Anaheim last year, right? Like just in terms of opportunity to play on an okay team and put up points. Like we always talk about how miserable the Ducks were. Honestly, the Coyotes, like they they've got some optimism, maybe not off the ice, but on the ice, like they're going to be a decent-ish team, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they'll
Well,
be okay, and I also think that Tampa's just gonna be trade bait at the deadline. But
Oh,
yeah.
100%. But
which
it puts him in a better opportunity to succeed than it did
yes,
Klingberg and Anaheim, right?
and all he has to do is just not not get hurt, and B just be average, and then he probably will get a look at it on a contender by the deadline. I mean, let's be honest, Arizona's gonna eat 2 million of the salary, and then yeah, they're just gonna some contenders are gonna pick him up for cheap or something like that.
I do think it's interesting that he ended up signing for 3.9 mil when that's basically what the rumor was from the very start of free agency. So what was the holdup, right? Was there some other team that he was waiting on? Maybe Pittsburgh was the other team. Maybe it was, if we can't get Karlsson,
We'll
we're
just
going
add
to
Dumba.
sign
Go
Dumba.
after Dumba.
Maybe, okay, you know what? Maybe we figured it out. Maybe that's why it took so long.
I also just want to mention that Dumba is the real winner because he's going from Minnesota weather to Arizona weather.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's nice.
Can't
And
go,
that's like
can't go
going
wrong with
from
that.
that's like going from like Winnipeg or Calgary to Florida. Paul
Right.
Maurice and Matthew Tkachuk,
okay.
right?
Let's go in.
There's Dave's hot take. Matt Dumba just as good as Matt Tkachuk.
Oh man. Yeah, resurgency.
Clip.
Norris
Yeah.
getting Norris votes this year. Matt Dumba.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move into the next signing. It was an RFA. Troy Terry signed 7x7 with the Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim gets one of their two big fish fried in Troy Terry getting done. How do you guys feel?
I feel like this
Would you
happened right after we talked about it.
It
on the
did.
pod, right? This was like 1 or 2 days after, and I was talking about, oh my god, are they going to send Troy Terry to UFA? Are they going to sign him to an arbitration deal and walk him? Yeah, no. Maybe I was just getting my hopes up. Maybe I was just praying that somehow Terry would be available. That probably is the answer. 7x7 is a steal of a deal, if you ask me. I'm a big Troy Terry fan. I was talking about how he could even touch double figures if he were to be a UFA next year. Maybe that's a little outrageous, but still, guys, like I really think he's worth more than 7 million. He's 1 year removed from putting up 37 goals. He's only going to get better. He's good.
He's
good.
in that category of like just a hair under 10 million. You know what I mean? Like he's in that 9 to 9.9 range, probably in a better market. He's a guy that could put up 40 goals next year.
He could be point per game, 40 goal scorer, good defensively, great underlying stuff, a little bit frisky, checks every box.
Yeah.
Every single box.
I think this is a fantastic. I think it's a.
It's a bargain.
You know what?
You can
I
even
will
say that.
go fan. Yeah, I will go fan. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'll go. Yeah, it's a fantastic deal. Like
they signed him to the Nylander deal from 2017. Is basically what they did, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a really good deal.
And they got more term.
Yeah.
So now I think the biggest question coming out of this is, what does the Zegras deal now look like? Is this the line in the sand mark for the Ducks? Does this tell Trevor Zegras, listen, this guy got this much, you cannot go over that type of money, right? Or does Zegras end up getting more than his teammate, right?
I think Zegras is the better player. I think he has the higher ceiling. And I also think that they just value Zegras more as like a franchise piece. Like Zegras sells tickets, you know?
Yeah. But I also think that Zegras wants the bag.
Yes.
And the way he's going to get it, and the rumor is Bridge. Yeah. That's what Sarah Valley has reported. I don't know. I haven't listened to an actual clip, so I don't know if this is his speculation or it's based in any concrete information, but it makes sense. Because like Dave said, if they want to play listen, Terry's getting 7 mil, so that's our limit. If they just want to play that type of leverage, you're Zegras and you say, okay, give me 5.5 times 2 times 3, 6 times 3, and we'll talk about this again in 2 summers, and then he gets the humongous bag because the cap goes
12.
Up, right?
Yeah.
And then Anaheim can't be like, oh, you can't get 7 million. That's our limit. That's the internal. Like Zegras will just be like, come on, please, right? So that's the solution here. at the same time, if he wanted to go long term, I'm sure the Ducks would want to go long term. Honestly, the Hughes deal was 8 by 8, right? That was a sweetheart deal, we think. So I don't know. You'd probably be looking like 8.5 or 9 if you want to do 7 or 8 years. But once again, if you're Zegras, you're saying that can be 11. It could be 12 in 2 years' time. So this is probably a kick the can down the road and deal with it in the
later.
not too soon future. Yeah, or the not too far away future.
Anaheim do have a very, very bright future. I think they just need to manage the cap properly going forward, and they might have a powerhouse team for the next like 5-6 years. They might, or they could end up like you guys. Just gotta throw that in there.
No.
Oh, hey, we're powerless. What are you talking about? We are a perennial first round contender, okay? Sometimes even the second round now.
Sometimes.
Just once in a blue moon, but it happens. It has happened.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk goalies. Jeremy Swayman, did he avoid? Yeah, he avoided arbitration.
Forgot that even happened.
Yeah.
He did go to arbitration.
Did he go to arbitration? I thought I don't remember.
No, he went to arbitration. I remember the arbiter awarded him.
Yes.
Yeah, it must have been because there's no way the Bruins would have given him the 1 year deal, right?
Yeah. The arbiter awarded Jeremy Swayman $3.475 million for a 1 year deal next season.
So
I think you should just lop in the next goalie here as well, Brian. You want to just throw in the other goalie I've got underneath there?
Yep, Philip Gustafson avoids arbitration and signs 3x3.75 with the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah. Then the other context here is Swayman is 24.
The same age, yeah.
Gustafson is 25. And I'm going to just pull up another goalie's age because I think it's relevant. The trio of RFA goalies, Ilya Samsonov is 26. Samsonov ends up at 3.55, and his numbers this season in 42 games played was a 2.33 goals against average, which isn't really that important because it's affected by how your team plays in front of you. But a .919 save percentage, by far the best of his career, his best season. So they gave him 3.55. I'm just going to quickly pull up Swayman's stats here. Swayman, in 37 games played, had a .920 save percentage. So identical, basically, right? We'll call it the same. Gustafson, who avoided arbitration. Yeah, it was really good. It was like he was getting Vezina votes. It was a .931. And he avoids ARB, gets a 3-year deal at like just $200K more than both of these guys. Yeah. So if you're ranking these 3 goalies in the deals they got, Bill Guerin gets a round of applause for an absolutely great deal with Phil Gustafson. I mean, listen, maybe I'm splitting hairs with the Swayman and Samsonov stuff. Honestly, it's basically the same thing. Edge to Boston because I believe they retain Swayman's RFA status with this. So they can still do a long-term deal, whereas the Leafs are just kind of throwing their hands in the air and saying, well, if Sammy's good again, he's going to get paid and he could go anywhere. Maybe I'm just a little bit salty, guys. I don't know. You tell me.
I like you said, I like the deal best for Minnesota just because they avoid arbitration. Arbitration is the relationship killer. It is the divorce, like contracts being like it's like when the parents like when they split, like someone gives the paper to the other one. That's what it is, and it's the start of the relationship breaking down.
This is just a hockey thing, though, right? Like this is just a hockey phenomenon, the RFA thing, because there's restricted free agency and arbitration hearings in baseball all the time. I'm pretty sure. Like, Bichette just went through it too, and like that's just like it's not even like talked about. I don't think really in baseball. It's just a hockey thing. It's weird. But it exists. 100%. You're right, though. Yeah. It's Samsonov, though. Like, if there was a guy who I had to guess can throw that water into the bridge very quickly, it's Sammy. I don't really think he's fazed by that.
So, in regards to this specifically, I'm a little bit surprised Sweeney let it go to arbitration. You know, you always think of the Bruins as like a top tier echelon like organization. You always think Don Sweeney is like the guy, right?
Yeah.
So he essentially lost his number 1 center, franchise center forever. He's gonna lose his number 2 center in the next in a week or two, and then he probably tarnished his relationship with a starting goalie for the next 10 years, in like a matter of a month, realistically.
I think he's still gotta. We gotta see how Swayman performs. I think we can find out if he's got the type of mentality where, once again, it's
I,
just water under the bridge. If there's, like you said, if there's any organization where it is all about the culture and
it's
business is
Boston.
business,
It's
it
Boston.
is Boston. And I think that he's already has like a he's very much intertwined into the Bruins locker room culture with the Omar, like the hugs after every game. He's an integral piece there. Like I think he knows that he's valued in that locker room. I don't know if an ARB hearing is going to make him question that, but if he does falter to start the season, maybe that it's like crap. Was what Sweeney was saying in that ARB hearing right? Maybe I do
Yeah.
suck. Like I don't know. Maybe then
it could.
I'm not counting on it though.
I think it just lays the seed of doubt. That's what it does.
Sure.
Now,
and he's got to rise to the occasion now. Yeah.
Does that doubt sprout up within the first, couple of months of the season if the Boston Bruins underperform? What is underperforming for the Boston Bruins, right? Like you're coming off.
They could miss.
Yeah.
They could miss this year. We can't count that out.
Yeah.
We don't want to count that. We probably shouldn't count them out. Like how it went last season.
Yeah.
But
like I'm saying, the bar was so high last year. Like the bar last year wasn't playoffs. It was President's Trophy, all-time record-setting team. Like, is being first in the division, like, is that below expectation just based off of last year? Now, I do think that, like, obviously expectation is adjusted and they're not looking at it like that, but I get it. Yeah.
I don't know. I just like I'm big on like avoiding arbitration at all costs. I'm big on not burning bridges with players that you need to play for you and play well next season.
Yeah.
I think going to arbitration itself is an L.
But Brian, like if you were a GM and that was your repertoire, that was your reputation, like I feel like agents could use that against you, right? Like this guy doesn't want to go to ARB. We can ask for a lot because he'll give it to us because he hates ARB.
100%. But hear me out. You met in the middle of salary. You didn't get term, and you probably pissed the guy off. You lost. I think if you want to give, you gotta get. Like look at Phil Gustis for example. Bill Guerin, he got term. He might have given a little bit more than he wanted to, but at least he got term, and he didn't piss the guy off.
Here's the thing, though. The Gustafson one is just like an anomaly because he didn't give up anything, man. He got. I think we think it's a bargain. We think it's a bargain, right? Like Spencer Knight, I think got $4-something million after one decent season, right? So just in a vacuum, Gustafson with the 3.75 for 3 years, like that's a great deal. That's probably a discount. Gary didn't have to really negotiate here at all. It was great. I think if I was a GM, I think I think that this is probably how GMs operate. I shouldn't say if I was a GM, but I feel like you pick your battles, right?
Right.
You can't be one way or another with the ARB hearings because once again, if you're strongly against ARB hearings, teams, other teams, players, agents can use that against you. So you pick your battles. So let's say in the Leafs case, is Ilya Samsonov the hill you're going to die on about not going to an ARB hearing?
No.
I think no. So you go to the ARB hearing so that next time you have a situation like this with a player that you really, really want to keep, they don't take advantage of you and you're able to come to a deal and avoid the ARB hearing altogether. That's probably how you got to go about this. You pick your battles.
You do, but I don't know. Like it's a big conflict of interest. You just tore the guy down for half an hour inside of this dinky courtroom, and now he has to perform for you and pretend like everything's okay. Like let's be honest. Like your boss, like whoever your manager is in a room with you saying, "This is why you shouldn't get."
You're negotiating your pay, right, with a neutral arbiter, the boss versus you. Yeah, that's
and they're saying,
100%.
He's not a hard worker. He comes 5 minutes late every 6 months. It's like you're really gonna hold that against me. You're really gonna remember that.
So maybe our perception of what an ARB hearing is, maybe that's a little off though. Like I don't know if Brad Treliving's walking in the room with Ilya Samsonov and saying, "Yo, this guy's out of shape. He's this and that." I think it's probably a little bit more cordial, right?
Yes.
It's more like we love Ilya Samsonov as a player. Here's his stats. However, due to our insight analytics in our front office, we can see that he struggles in this area. And here are some comparables who make this much money, and therefore, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's a way to go about an ARB hearing where you're not punching the guy in the face verbally, right?
Your GM isn't walking into the room like a WWE heel.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
just
like
Brad Tree Living walks the room
like
Stone Cold Steve Austin style.
Honestly, if Brad Tree Living did that, I would applaud him. Honestly,
yeah.
But yeah,
I think Dubas would be more likely to do that than Brad. Honestly,
yeah, but no, yeah. So I think I think the point that you are though making, Brian, is completely valid. It might not be to that extent because we have heard stories of relationships breaking down because of arbitration hearings. So I think that there is some sentiment to what you're saying, but I also don't think it's I don't think in any of the two situations that we mentioned today, I don't think it's enough right now to have the relationships breaking down. But if Sammy falters, if Swayman falters, especially, yeah, that doubt is there's some doubt there.
If you're a betting man, you have the 3 goalies there. You have to pick one to perform. I think I would pick Gustafsson, like just based on the fact that he didn't go to arbitration.
Yeah,
just based off that alone. Like, who's gonna show up early to camp? It's not gonna be Samsonov.
But here's another thing too, Bri. Let's take all 3 contracts away, and you ask that same question:
who's the best goalie?
I think every team probably sticks with their goalie because they know that their goalie
they know their guy
for
it's
them,
the proven
right?
quantity, right?
Yeah, exactly. I do think this argument too depends on the general manager that is doing that is on the team side of the arbitration hearing, right? Like Brad Tree Living might go about it in this cordial manner, but once again, maybe Brian Burke, maybe this is a guy who's not afraid to really, really stab the knife and put some salt in the wound. So that's probably part of this too. There's probably some GMs that have different styles in how they go about the ARB hearing.
Yes. Okay. I think that's everything for the past week. I know we said that we weren't going to do an episode like this week, last week.
No, we had to.
But we had to. Like,
Karlsson, right? Yeah.
It was, I think that was our stipulation was unless Erik Karlsson gets traded, I think we would take a little bit, like a bit longer break. We might take a bit longer break now that Karlsson got traded. I don't hear any
watch the floodgates open now.
Yeah.
Watch the now Karlsson trade the Hellebuck,
right?
Scheifele, Lindholm, Gibson.
Well, that's the thing. If it happens, I'd be more than happy to talk about it.
Absolutely.
But we need it to happen. That is the problem.
Sure thing.
It's just not a good time to be a sports fan in general. I mean, like, what's even on right now?
F1's you're a Nats fan. You're not even a baseball fan. So listen, I'm enjoying my Jays content. Okay, Brian, you got a sneak peek of it. You got a taste of it. It's pretty fun. Okay,
I did enjoy it. It was a good time,
and
baseball. Like the Rogers Center is nicer. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about where you say I'll be honest, I kind of tuned out. Were you asking like what sports are on? Like you want more sports to start?
Guys.
I know soccer starts
do your little soccer corner here. Leo Messi,
soccer
guys.
How
about that guy? That guy's okay.
Dude,
you're opening Pandora's box right now.
Oh my god, dude! I wish.
I know you guys want to get it out.
I think I'm like, okay. So here's my thing on Leo Messi.
He's playing in the kids league.
Me and Brian. Well, listen. Me and Brian have said to each other multiple times, like, do you want to buy? Like, are you gonna buy Apple TV just to watch Leo Messi? And I was like, yes. Like, I was on like 50-50. Dude, I watched his free kick goal against, I believe it was FC Dallas in their Leagues Cup, which that's a different story for another time. Don't know why that's happening in the middle of the MLS season, but it's kind of cool to see, I guess. But man, I am so tempted right now to press to pull the trigger and press the button on the MLS seasons pass, because what a performance that guy.
It's worth it just to watch Messi. It is. It really is.
He like I know it's crazy to, not that it's crazy, but it's like I feel sometimes I do like feel bad for the MLS, like saying like, oh, it's kind of like it's still like a bit of a farmers league and stuff like that. But is it a farmers league, or is Leo Messi still just inhuman? Like I don't know
Both.
what to say. I think
you got to start somewhere though. Like this is how
I
you
think
change the
it's
reputation.
exactly.
Yes.
I
You
think
start.
Brian, it's closer to the latter being true, because I still think that there's a lot of talent in the MLS. There's a lot of talent
Just
even
not on,
on.
just not on TFC.
Yeah,
No.
no. Well, there is talent on TFC. It's just the culture around TFC
Yeah, I
is
know.
not great right now. But yeah. So Leo Messi, what
So
if you just go watch those like free kick, like his free kick. I watched that thing, I honestly 10 different times, like 4 or 5 different angles, and every time it just gets better and better.
So really quickly, so okay, I was gonna say 4 North American leagues. Let's do 5. We got to throw MLS in there. So NBA, we got like LeBron, NFL, Patrick Mahomes, NHL, we got McDavid, MLS, we have Leo Messi, and MLB, David Schneider. Like that is the greatest guys, right? Okay, that's all I wanted to say. I'm good to go now. Let's go.
Man.
Also, no, Dave, it's definitely interesting. It would be nice to get it for just MLS alone. But what I could say is that like Apple's been coming up with some pretty good stuff recently. Like I don't know if you guys saw that new trailer for that new Scorsese movie.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Is it
Killers of the Flower Moon.
mm-hmm.
Oh
That was
my
pretty good.
God, that looks so good. That looks like to be
Yeah.
much watch.
I think the only thing I've been tempted by on Apple TV is like Prehistoric Planet, just for like my nostalgic 5-year-old kid inside me to watch like freaking dinosaurs.
This
That's
oh
about it, guys. That's
That's so
about it.
cool.
no
Love
this
that.
movie's going on to theaters first. They're trying the Amazon special where
They release it and then
like they fund a movie like $270 million, and then they
yeah.
just bring it straight to theaters and they release it on their platform after.
They'll
I will be watching that.
They
In
better
theaters.
market it like Barbenheimer, because both of those movies. Did you see like it's crazy.
It's kind of
to
mid.
think
I
about.
can't lie. I thought it
Okay,
was
so
You watched it,
okay.
Brian?
I
I
haven't
Brian, you
did.
watched
seen
it?
I did.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
I haven't watched
either
it
of
yet.
them, but
Yeah.
what's insane to think about is that Oppenheimer has already broken the highest grossing World War II film
Yep.
of all time, which is insane to think about, because you look at a movie like honest to God, one of my all-time favorite movies is Saving Private Ryan. I absolutely love watching that movie, and that thing for its time was revolutionary and groundbreaking, and Oppenheimer came in, and it seems like what, 2 weeks, and they broke Saving Private Ryan's record. That was like I think Saving Private Ryan did like the Triple Crown for like best actor, best director, best something else, or they did a couple of those things. So maybe Oppenheimer is gonna lead into that thing.
Nolan's definitely going for his what's it called, his Grammy or whatever.
For his
Here's the hockey connection for Oppenheimer. Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan, for some reason, has a thing for putting Sean Avery in his movies. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in
So
Oppenheimer, Brian. Did
he's
you
in
catch
Oppenheimer,
it?
and he was also in Tenet as well.
Yeah.
So he's been in
I didn't know
2
that.
Christopher Nolan movies. And I remember watching Tenet, and Sean Avery's in this for like maybe 3 seconds, and I instantly was like, "Is that Sean Avery?" And I
Does
looked it up,
that
I'm
take
like,
you out
"What
of it
the
though?
hell?"
Like movies,
A little bit for like a minute, yes.
Okay.
I
For
was just
movies,
like,
you
why
want to
is he- what's he
suspend
doing
your
here?
like the whole thing about movies is you got to, especially Christopher Nolan movies, you got to suspend all
Your
your
belief.
disbeliefs, right? And then you see, noted goon Sean
Okay.
Avery in there.
I'm gonna make
I'm
a bit of
excited
a
to
hot
see
take.
Tom Wilson in the Scorsese movie. Okay,
It's
yeah.
okay. I'm gonna give you guys a bit of a hot take. One last one just to end it off. It's a movie take.
Yeah.
So Christopher Nolan is a dream director if you are a film junkie, if you want to try the cool effects, like the different styles. As an actual director for films, bit overrated.
Mid?
Bit overrated.
Ooh.
I don't know, man. Like I'm not in love
Ooh.
with any of the movies he's made. I've watched
You didn't
most
like
of them too.
Inception?
It's okay. It was
I
okay.
thought Inception was really good. But wait, hold on a second.
And I just
You
watched
like-
Oppenheimer, so I'm not biased.
You didn't like any of the Batman trilogy?
No,
Not even The Dark Knight?
no. I didn't like. Okay, I specifically didn't like the second one, The Dark Knight Rises. I was like, ugh.
That was the last one.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not a big enough film guy to weigh in on this one. I
Okay.
can't name you enough directors. I've got no. I
maybe
like
maybe I
Tenet,
just
but I'm just
maybe I
liked
just
it.
have like maybe I do have bias because I really like Chris Nolan movies. I think like even
but you're a film
Interstellar's like
junkie, so like you like that
Interstellar's
stuff.
like really good. But I do hear there is a notion though that it's more
The
show.
nerds.
It's more show than tell with
Yeah.
Nolan. That is one thing where I can see a basis there. But
Okay.
regardless, there's always stuff to keep us entertained. And you know, within the next few weeks, hockey's going to be coming back to keep all three of us completely invested. And on that note, I guess Brad, wrap it up.
On that note, shout out to Fubo TV, shout out to Razor, shout out to NHLShop.ca. If you want to grab your Ryan Leonard Capitals jersey, it's there for you at NHLShop.ca. One more thing. Good luck, Christian, tonight. You have your big interview thing. And
we'll see how this goes, and if it goes well, then I can bring it up here, right? So
yes.
Well, thank you though, much appreciated, guys. Thank you.
All right, that's a wrap. Dave, you can cut it there.